How I slowly got addicted to English. English came into my life not as a dream, but as a force I could not avoid. In the beginning, I did not like English at all. I met English years ago when I was surrounded by a non-English background, closer to Spanish or my local language, where English had no real place in daily life. In school, English was just another subject, nothing more than marks, exams, and fear. I learned English imperfectly, only enough to pass. I never felt confident. Grammar rules felt heavy, words felt confusing, and speaking felt impossible. My only aim was simple, to somehow pass English and move forward. I did not want mastery, I just wanted escape. In college, English stayed with me like a shadow. Sometimes reading felt very difficult, sometimes a little easier, but never comfortable. Over time, I understood basic things, but I still could not express myself. I stopped pushing myself because my goal was still the same, to pass the subject, not to learn the language. I believed English was not necessary for my real life. But real life slowly proved me wrong. When I went outside, traveled, or met new people, English appeared everywhere. People spoke to me in English, and I could not understand them. I wanted to reply, but words did not come. Those moments were painful. I felt embarrassed, small, and incomplete, as if I was missing something important. That embarrassment hurt more than exams ever did. That feeling became the reason I decided to try again. I did not suddenly love English, but I wanted to remove that fear and shame. I decided to learn English imperfectly, without waiting for perfection. At first, I chose grammar, believing that rules would save me. I studied grammar books and videos for months, hoping something would change. But nothing changed. I knew rules, yet I could not speak. I understood structures, yet conversations felt impossible. Slowly, hopelessness returned. I thought maybe English was not for me, maybe I was too late, maybe my mind could not learn it. Still, I did not give up. That was the most important part of my journey. I changed my method, not my goal. I began learning English through stories, videos, and subtitles. At first, it felt useless. I could not understand much. Words moved too fast. Meanings slipped away. But instead of quitting, I slowed everything down, literally. I watched videos at slow speed, paused them, replayed lines, read subtitles again and again. After a few weeks, small understanding appeared. Just one sentence, then another. That small progress gave me hope, and hope gave me strength. Then English slowly stopped feeling like study and started feeling like interest. I began watching English movies, learning vocabulary through emotions, scenes, and characters. Words stayed in my mind because they were connected to stories. Soon, English was everywhere for me. On roads, on apps, on products, on signs, I noticed English words and wanted to know their meanings. It felt natural, almost automatic. I listened to English stories daily, sometimes without effort, sometimes with focus. English sounds became familiar, friendly, and motivating. I started practicing English in real life. I spoke in English with my family, asked them if my sentences were correct, accepted corrections without shame. I messaged people in English, searched for words I did not know, and tried again. I talked to myself in English inside my mind, describing my thoughts, my day, my feelings. I watched English videos with subtitles again and again. Slowly, Confidence grew not suddenly, but steadily. After 9 to 10 months, I realized I had changed deeply. My English was still imperfect, but it was alive. I could understand conversations, answer questions in 5 or 6 sentences, and express myself without fear. When someone asked me something, I tried to reply in English. Every attempt motivated me more. I no longer learned English to pass a subject, I learned it because I wanted to grow. Now, English is not a burden. It is not fear. It is habit, curiosity, and addiction. I am still learning, still practicing, still improving. But today I can proudly say that imperfect effort, daily exposure, and never giving up changed my English and changed me. Part 1. English was never my dream. Let me start by telling you something honestly. English was never my dream. It did not come into my life with excitement or passion. It came like a force I could not avoid. In the beginning, I truly disliked English. I grew up in a background where English had no real value in daily life. Around me, people spoke local languages, sometimes closer to Spanish sounds or regional language rhythms. English was distant, foreign, and unnecessary. In school, English was just another subject. It meant marks, exams, pressure, and fear. Nothing more. I did not see it as a language to communicate with people. I saw it as a burden I had to carry to move forward in the education system. My goal was never to learn English properly. My goal was very small, just pass. I learned English imperfectly. I memorized answers, remembered some grammar rules, and wrote just enough to survive exams. Inside, I was never confident. Grammar felt heavy. Vocabulary felt confusing. Speaking felt impossible. Every English class increased my fear. I stayed silent because silence felt safer than making mistakes. I never imagined that English could become part of my identity one day. At that time, English felt like a wall standing between me and success. I believed that some people were born for English and some were not, and I thought I belonged to the second group. So when people say, "You must love English to learn it," I smile. Because my journey proves something else. You don't start with love. Sometimes, you start with fear. Sometimes, you start with pressure. Sometimes, you start only because you have no choice. That was me. A student who did not hate learning, but hated English. A student who did not want mastery, but wanted escape. And that is how my relationship with English began, not with passion, but with resistance. Part 2. College life and the comfort of avoidance. When I entered college, English followed me like a shadow. It never left. But I still did not face it honestly. I avoided it in smart ways. Sometimes I read English texts, and they felt extremely difficult. Sometimes they felt slightly easier, but they were never comfortable. I understood basic things, but I could not express myself. I could read, but slowly. I could write, but with fear. Speaking was still a nightmare. I continued with the same mindset. I am here to pass, not to learn. I told myself that English was not necessary for my real life. I believed that my future would work fine without it. That belief gave me temporary comfort. Avoidance always feels comfortable in the beginning. I stopped pushing myself. I stopped challenging my weakness. I stayed in my safe zone, where broken understanding was enough. Inside, I knew something was missing, but I ignored it. But life has a strange way of correcting our wrong beliefs. Slowly, real life started knocking on my door. When I went outside, traveled, used apps, or met new people, English appeared everywhere. Instructions were in English. Signs were in English. Conversations happened in English. And then came the worst moments, when people spoke to me in English, and I could not understand them. I wanted to reply, but my mind went blank. Words disappeared. My confidence collapsed. Those moments were painful. More painful than exams. More painful than marks. I felt embarrassed. I felt small. I felt incomplete, as if I was missing an important part of myself. That embarrassment changed something inside me. It hurt deeply, but it also woke me up. I realized that avoiding English was not protecting me, it was limiting me. Part 3. Embarrassment became my turning point. That feeling of embarrassment stayed with me. It followed me silently. Every time I failed to reply in English, it reminded me of what I lacked. Slowly, that pain became stronger than my fear. I did not suddenly fall in love with English. No. But I wanted one thing very badly, to remove that shame. So I decided to try again. Not perfectly. Not confidently. Just honestly. I told myself, I will learn English imperfectly. That decision changed everything. Like many learners, I believed grammar was the solution. I thought if I learned all the rules, I would become fluent. So I started studying grammar seriously. I watched videos. I read books. I practiced exercises for months. And yes, I learned rules. But no, I still could not speak. I knew tenses, but conversations were silent. I knew sentence structures, but words refused to come out. Slowly, hopelessness returned. I started thinking maybe English was not for me. Maybe I was too late. Maybe my brain was not made for languages. But here is the most important part of my journey: I did not give up. I did not quit learning. I only changed how I learned. That decision saved me. Part 4. Changing the method changed everything. I realized something important. Grammar alone cannot teach you a language. Language is alive. It needs sound, emotion, repetition, and context. So I changed my method. I started learning English through stories, videos, and subtitles. At first, it felt useless. I barely understood anything. Words moved too fast. Meanings slipped away. But this time, I didn't quit. I slowed everything down, literally. I watched videos at slow speed. I paused after every line. I replayed the same sentence again and again. I read subtitles carefully. Sometimes one line took me 5 minutes. It was frustrating. But after a few weeks, something magical happened. I understood one sentence. Then another. Then a full idea. That small understanding gave me hope. And hope gave me strength. English slowly stopped feeling like study. It started feeling like curiosity. Part 5. English became a habit, not a subject. I started watching English movies not to learn, but to feel. I learned vocabulary through emotions, scenes, and characters. Words stayed in my mind because they were connected to stories. Soon, English was everywhere for me. On roads. On apps. On products. On signs. I noticed words naturally and wanted to know their meanings. I listened to English stories daily, sometimes actively, sometimes passively. English sounds became familiar and friendly. This is when addiction began, not forced, but natural. Part 6. Practicing without shame. I started practicing English in real life. I spoke with my family. I asked them to correct me. I accepted mistakes without shame. I messaged people in English. I searched for words. I tried again. I talked to myself in English inside my mind. I described my day, my feelings, my thoughts. That practice changed my confidence slowly, deeply, permanently. Part 7. Realizing I had changed. After 9 to 10 months, I noticed something powerful. I had changed. My English was still imperfect, but it was alive. I could understand conversations. I could reply in 5 or 6 sentences. I could express myself without fear. Every attempt motivated me more. I was no longer learning English to pass a subject. I was learning it to grow. Part 8. Imperfect effort changed my life. Today, English is not a burden. It is not fear. It is habit. It is curiosity. It is addiction. I am still learning. Still practicing, still improving. But I proudly say this. Imperfect effort, daily exposure, and never giving up changed my English and changed me. If I can do it, anyone can.